Welcome to the PIEA Week 6 highlights. We saw a bunch of great plays this week across Rocket League and VALORANT. So let's get into the standout performances these players had. Our first Rocket League match of the week featured Garnet Valley versus South Fayette. Going into this set, both teams were 5-0 and top of their respective conferences. Game 1 started with a strong opener from both teams, and with the score tied 2-2, Okie Dokie Smokies scored a great goal to pull South Fayette ahead, and they were able to secure Game 1 5-2. Game 2 was even more close, as both teams entered OT with 1 goal apiece. Once overtime kicked off, Lomac from South Fayette was able to quickly wrap things up with a clean goal, winning them Game 2 2-1. By Game 3, South Fayette was tired of the close games and decided to end things with an 8-0 victory. This kept their undefeated streak and broke Garnet Valley's. With a 6-0 record, South Fayette is now tied for first place in PIEA Rocket League. Our second match saw Henderson and Conrad Weiser go head-to-head. Going into this set, Henderson had a 3-1 record and Conrad Weiser had a 3-2 record. This put Conrad Weiser right below Henderson in their conference, so there was a lot weighing on this match. With their placement on the line, Henderson started this set with a quick 6-1 victory. In the second game, Henderson opted to play more defensively and won the game 4-0 thanks to some great shots from D. Going into match point, Conrad Weiser wanted to make their last stand, and while it was the best showing for them yet, they weren't quite able to keep up with the momentum of Henderson, whose players won the game 6-2 and took the set 3-0. This advances them to 7th place in the league. Our last Rocket League match for the week featured Lenape Tech versus Wyoming Area. Going into this set, Lenape was 2-2 and Wyoming Area was 1-3. With potential placement changes on the line, these teams came ready to play. Lenape took an early lead in Game 1 and was able to carry that momentum to a 5-1 victory. With a chip on their shoulder, Wyoming Area came into Game 2 ready to play. They dominated Lenape in this game thanks to Sonic Rhino, who scored all 6 of Wyoming Area's goals of that game. While Lenape was starting to rally, Wyoming Area carried their momentum to Game 3 and scored 8 goals thanks to Sonic Rhino, who scored another 6 goals. All sense of momentum stopped going into Game 4 though, and the teams were tied 1-1 going into overtime. After a minute-long overtime, Lenape Tech's The Grizzly Sin was able to secure their team a second win, tying up the set. On match point, Wyoming Area saw the opportunity for an upset and they took it. Not bothered by the pressure of match point, Wyoming Area was able to grab a 5-1 win, upsetting Lenape Tech and passing them in their conference. Our first VALORANT match of the week saw Lampeter Strasbourg face Ephrata. Not only were both teams tied at a 3-2 standing prior to this match, but this was also a local rivalry match, and both teams came into the game ready to win. Ephrata started hot and was quickly able to gain a 3-0 lead thanks to a great defensive 4K from their Astra Freakzilla. A few rounds later, their Jet Landon was able to pull off a great lurk 2K that gave his team a 1v3. With the score at 5-0, Ephrata had a huge amount of momentum and only lost 2 rounds the entire first half. In the first round of the second half, Ephrata's Reina Tall hit an insane 4K that gave them the econ to snowball the first few rounds of attack and win Game 1 13-3. In Game 2, Lampeter Strasbourg was ready to make their comeback on Ascent. After Lampeter took the first 2 rounds, Landon from Ephrata had a massive lurk in mid that led to a 4K and swung the momentum back to Ephrata. They quickly took an 11-3 lead and seemed like they were on the cusp of winning, but Lampeter Strasbourg fired back and was able to close the gap to 12-6 after Ketzin clutched a 1v3. After another 3 rounds, the game was almost tied 12-9, but Ephrata's landed another 2K that was able to win Ephrata the map and the set. With this win, Ephrata advanced to 1st in their conference and 5th in the entire league. Our second match featured Carlisle versus Ephrata B. Both teams had a 3-2 record, and whoever won this match was likely to rank high in the Freedom Conference. Carlisle opted to start the game with a flawless pistol round and quickly started to gain a lead. In round 3, the massively out-ecoed Ephrata was able to make a huge play, dropping Carlisle's spike carrier early in the round and preventing them from planting. This gave Ephrata their first round and the econ to fight Carlisle. Unfortunately, the money wasn't enough to combat Carlisle's Reina, who kept having crazy rounds and dropping ults like it was their job. With the help of their duelists, who were electric the entire game, Carlisle was able to win 13-2, moving them up to 2nd in their conference with a 4-2 record. Our last VALORANT match of the week saw Bishop Carroll and North Allegheny go head-to-head. Both teams were tied at 5-1 records, and with their reputations on the line, North Allegheny had an explosive start. They quickly gained a 6-0 lead and had some great plays like this 4K from their Brim Highway. With dominant performances round after round, North Allegheny wrapped up map 1 13-1. Going into match point, they decided to one-up themselves and win 13-0. There were a ton of fantastic plays in this game, specifically this 3K from Texonical and another 4K from Highway. Highway had a massive impact on controller this set, staying alive, getting elims, and clutching up in 1v1s like the round that won them this set. With this win, North Allegheny advances to first in the Appalachian Conference. That's all for the PIEA Week 6 highlights, so stay tuned for our coverage of Week 7.